Start. All right. There we go. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another Global Expansion Team Zoom. We have an incredible guest for you tonight. Jerry Yerke is joining us, and I hope I'm saying your last name right. Am I saying your last name right, Jerry? Okay.
Perfect.
Jerry Yerke is joining us from Santa Monica, California. He's been ripping it up out in the field, and we're going to kind of listen to what he's all about, the background that he came from, and why he decided to join us on the ASEA adventure. So, Jerry, thanks so much for joining us tonight.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for the invite, and great to see people coming in from all over the world.
Absolutely. So talk to us. You came from originally Domino pizza franchises, right? That's where you started and then got into the network marketing industry. How did you get in? Why did you start in Domino's? Let's start there. And then why did you end up going from franchising into network marketing?
Well, thanks for asking. Great question. I've always been an entrepreneur. I've always been a risk taker. Unlike my parents, born and raised in Detroit, Michigan, I was actually living in the Carson City, Reno, Lake Tahoe area when the opportunity surfaced. And I was very fortunate, very blessed to be a part of one of the fastest growing industries in the world at that time, which was franchising. If you remember the 80s, it was big in franchises. And Domino's Pizza was created, born and raised in Ann Arbor, Michigan, one of my favorite cities in the world. And so I had that connection and did that for about 15 years. Big risk, many millions of dollars, had 7 stores throughout Northern Nevada, was the largest franchise owner. And then a friend, it just so happens, Cindy, I'm excited. The friend that introduced me to this industry 32 years ago, we've lost touch, and tomorrow we're going to get on the phone, catch up. Can't wait to share, but he's the reason that I sold my stores after understanding distribution. But with a franchise, you can only build a business within your market, like 8 minutes circumference of each store in the case of Domino's Pizza stores. So I had a bigger vision and wanted to build something global and got hooked on this incredible industry of direct sales and network marketing. So that's how it began 32 years ago.
Wow. And so you went right into the field at that point, right? You were building your business in the field like all of us are?
I did. It was 10 years in the field, started out miserable, failed, like many people do. I came from a business acumen, but not so much on the relationship side and direct sales. So the blessing that I was able to capitalize was some great mentors. And because of that, and Cindy, I'm sure this was before your time, you were probably skiing the slopes of Colorado and Aspen, but there was no cell phones. It was pagers, pay phones, and we literally got a report once a month about this thick of all of your organization and what was going on. So that's where it began. And then while living in Southeast Asia, I was living in the Philippines. I was also living in South Korea at the time, and was asked to join the corporate side. And for the last 22 years around the world, have been on the corporate side, from startups to mid-range, 50 million to 200 million a year in revenue companies, all the way to $1 billion a year company. And 6 months ago, made a life-changing revert decision back to the field.
And why did you make that decision? Why did you decide to go back into the field? It's very different being a corporate executive versus a field builder. Why did you decide to come back in the field?
Well, Cindy, it's how many hours do we actually have for this Zoom would be a better question, but a couple of key factors. Number one, timing. I believe timing is everything. And for the last 8 years, because of a relationship where I had with 4 mentors, 4 of the top let's just call it associates, distributors, depending on which company, a part of ASEA, Ed Weens, John Bash, Mel Sword, and then the hero, the MVP of my life, Dan Doyle. I've kept in contact with these gentlemen because there was a company that I was an executive of based out of Austria, global company. Got to meet them all in Australia, and Dan just was that guy that wouldn't let me go. Very professional, humble, just a true friend, that person that if you wanted to have really be your sponsor, for me, it was him. And Cindy, about every 2 years between corporate executive jobs or projects, it was, in my opinion, it was God's timing. It was destined to be. And he would reach out to me and say, very nice, hey, why don't you come join me? And I watched him and studied ASEA along the way. You know, executives in this industry, we know the ownership. We all are in that circle of executives, ownership. We know what's happening, what's not happening. And I followed Dan and the other 3 gentlemen that I mentioned, saw that they were just making it happen. So the timing was right. And if you don't mind me saying so, in, I believe it was April, there was the ASEA event. Cindy, you were probably there in Las Vegas. And I was watching my better half. Actually, she's my better 7/8. Denise, she was sitting right next to me where I'm sitting right now. We were watching the event virtually. And when I saw and listened to Tyler Norton and heard things I've never heard in 32 years, for the very first time, Cindy, I looked at her and I said, I want to be a distributor of this company. And her mouth just dropped because she's never heard me say that. But here's the main reason. When I heard Tyler say NLM instead of MLM, that was it for me. Because if you were to ask me how many executives have ever shared that with me, the answer is 0. And then he said a word called ethos. And I heard Cindy, Dan say this several times. 32 years in the industry, and I'm saying, ethos? What the heck is ethos? I had to look it up. No owner has ever shared the ethos with me, never even heard it. And then when Tyler said, let me share the soul of ASEA. And again, no owner, no executive has ever said the soul of a company to me. 0. I knew we were in the right place at the right time. So those are 3 of the key reasons that just floored me. And quite frankly, it's been a transformation every single day, including today. I was on a Zoom call with the executive team that many of the people listening were. That transparency that we witnessed today, 99.9% of all the thousands of companies in the world in direct sales, you do not see or hear what we were blessed to hear today.
So just some clarification, when you say MLM to NLM, that's next level marketing
It
as
is.
opposed to multi-level marketing. So that's the, like, I think people can research that if they're not familiar with it. And ethos, ASEA has always been really big on ethos. We have a whole ethos training for a whole day so people can really get to know the corporate soul and the principles by which this company is run, keeping ego and economics below our principles as people, and really making this humanitarian project something special, something authentic, and something real, as opposed to just putting lipstick on a pig, right?
Yeah, you're exactly
And
right.
then you were referring to our confidential phone call today, which was about the cost of everything in the whole world going up and how ASEA is reacting to that. So yeah, the sharing of the tables and the charts and the expenses and the percentages and all that, and how they're handling it from as our business partners. They're our corporate business partners, and we are truly in business with them. And so they're sharing the burden with us as costs go up around the world, making sure that we are, keeping a really healthy, audit ready financially strong company, right?
You are so right. And you can only imagine in 22 years how many companies we started, we were a part of, we built it from scratch. We came in, both Denise and I, and helped at many high levels. And not one time, Cindy, zero, did a company that I was associated with that had some decisions to make. We're in some economic challenging times, but I'll refer back to something that Tyler shared too with us when we were at the fly-in the other day, and it just really hit me. I look at now as ASEA, living in Southern California. Northern Cal is not that far, and of course everybody knows the sequoias, the beautiful, steadfast, strong trees. And really, Tyler shared that with us, and it really clicked. It was my aha moment that we can stand on a branch of ASEA. And I can say this from myself, from a position of strength, being in the industry for a long time, that I know that branch is strong. It's not going to crack. It's not going to bend. It's like in a sequoia. And that's unheard of in the industry. And what we witnessed today, that the field will know and everybody will know, and it's great decisions. It's to make sure that we weather that storm, that the ship has the sails in the right direction, and we've got the right captains. And I say captains on board because it is an executive team.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you've seen a lot of the good, the bad, and the ugly in the years that you've been in this industry, and seen companies come and go, and distributors come and go, and all kinds of unfortunate things happen when a company's not run right. So it's I know I was just felt so reassured when I met the corporate, the founders of the company, and listened to their business speak. I really felt like Fortune 50 was meeting network marketing, and it was a very unusual flavor.
100%. Couldn't agree with you more. I'll throw this out if you don't mind. It wasn't a question you asked, but here's what happens in the industry. And Tyler talks about this, and that's why it resonates so strongly with me. On all the startups, and let's just, it's a fact, hundreds and thousands of companies. I get recruited, not every day, but at least a couple of times a week, being sent, that text that right now I never answer, because that's not how you share the industry or a company with. But you get that link, watch the video, call me back because I know you're going to be excited. It's not how today's business works. It's relationships, it's connecting, it's knowing people and taking the time. But here's what happens in the industry. You'll have, let's just say, a group of people. Let's say it's you and I, Cindy, and we're friends. We've known each other for a while, and we say, let's start a network marketing company, a direct sales company. And we make that decision, and then we say, what are we going to launch as a product? Where ASEA has done what 99.9% of the companies has not done. If you know the history and watch the genesis of ASEA, it's a biotech company that had this breakthrough world-class product and then decided what was the best channel to get the word out. That's unheard of. That doesn't happen. So right there, check. The box was checked right off the bat.
So how are you reaching out to people? I'm sure you've got a ton of contacts, both in the corporate part of network marketing as well as the field, from all the years that you've spent in this industry. So how are you reaching out to people? Because they're inevitably in another network marketing company, to some degree, because once you understand this industry, you realize that it's the power of it, as long as you're with the right company, the right product, the right leadership team, as long as those factors are in place, most people turn around and go back into network marketing, right?
It's been, thanks for asking that question, Cindy. It's been an incredible 6 months. It's been a total paradigm switch for me, because when you're in the corporate world, when you're on an executive team, and by the way, I tried 3 times to see if I could get my foot in the door, not knowing Tyler or Chuck or any of the executives that are on, Frank, who's just going to do a tremendous job, in my opinion. It has to be the right exact time. So you're asking about how we're doing it now, and it truly is a team. People, I'll remember the very first phone call I made, or first phone calls I made, or contacts, when we made the decision to come back into the field, to leave the corporate executive world and build it for the freedom that it is for people like you, myself, and many of others, and touching people's lives through breakthrough wellness. Well, most people, Cindy, would say, hey, and everybody calls me JY, by the way, it's just easier, it's my nickname. Hey, JY, you're going to kill it. You've known people all around the world. It's just going to be so easy for you. Well, we have been truly blessed with some incredible relationships, but you're right. As you and I just had a minute to talk a couple of days ago, people are doing other things. Some of those contacts I haven't, touched base in quite a while, because you're so laser beam focused when you're on the executive side, because in a certain analogy, I would be helping Cindy or Dan or Mel. I'd be helping them build their business, and it wasn't my business. Well, it's different. And I think it's been real challenging, but not to the point that it's been, let's just say, overcoming. We can overcome it. And here's the point I want to try and make. We've had a blast because we've reconnected with people that we haven't touched base with in quite some time. And a couple of them, like Palais, who's on this call with us from Colombia, he went with us through about 3 people down, or connected through 3 different people, and he was with us in Salt Lake City. Some people said yes right off the bat. Timing was perfect. But when I relate to what Dan Doyle did with me, and I don't recommend it for anyone, it took me 7 years to finally say yes. It just had to be the right time. So again, Cindy, blessed with some incredible relationships, but everybody on this Zoom call, I feel, and probably has the same advantage: friends, family, associates, people that they haven't connected with in a while. So that's how we've built the business and continue to do so, having the time of our lives.
So are you doing a lot of Zoom calls? Are you sending out a lot of videos? Are you leveraging the tools of the videos that are out there from various either associates have put them together, or corporate has put them together? Are you leveraging those tools? Or are you mostly doing personal conversations and then Zoom conversations with a team?
Well, if I didn't know any better, I would say you were probably a newscaster in your previous life, but I know you were on the slopes. The situation is, that's a great question. We've been doing a combination of all of the above, but I'll give you a for instance, and I just want to make sure this is very clear. The Dan Doyles, the gentleman that I've spoken about, Dr. David Silverman, Alan Noble, yourself, people that have gone before us, Debbie Wetzler, amazing people that paved the way. And quite frankly, Denise and I, in our company and our executive careers, we've had to build those tools. So when we saw what was behind the scenes in the back office, what you do, what this call does, ASEA 5 with Ann and Jim Glenn, Dr. Lee, Dr. Maureen, fabulous people that have paved the way. We're leveraging those tools because it's already done for us. So you're exactly right. Pique the interest, get them on a Zoom call immediately with our upline. Cindy, 22 years, 32 years, we've been the ones giving the message. So a little bit of a shift. Let me have you speak to my sponsor, somebody that's a world expert. And that's how we handle it, and go right to a Zoom. And 9 out of 10 people have said yes, or if they didn't, it wasn't the right time, but we'll keep in contact with them.
Right. So I know that they're showing you the ropes, and you know that it's very important to build a strong foundation. And, even though I think that what level have you built your business to at this point in 6 short months?
Well, thanks for asking. Another great question. And one thing that I learned, whether it was sports way back in the day or in the executive world of business. And now on this side, my message to everybody is don't compare yourself with everybody. I mean, we've got Lucy and her husband, the Samoans that are breaking every record possible. Don't compare yourself. Be you. Come to the table with your smile, your story, because everybody has it. But we've been extremely blessed and started on May 6th. And while we were in Salt Lake City, it was an honor to receive our platinum pin, and looking forward to being like you folks on the diamond trips and beyond. We just want to help as many people as possible. Can I share a personal story with you
Sure.
quickly?
Congratulations, by the way. Yeah, but absolutely.
It's a team, and the team is amazing. Just very honored and blessed. But I'll share something. People that know me, Cindy, and you'll see this very soon when you meet Denise. Throughout my career, and Denise has been with me for the last 15 years, been my executive assistant, really is my back office in life, and everybody that knows me knows that. And recently, about a week ago, she was on a well-deserved trip with a couple of her friends, and I sent her a message and just said, thanks, I can't do this without you, you're amazing. And the message came back like this. It had 2 points to it. Number one, all we want to do is help as many people as possible live the healthy life they can. And number two, we want to make sure this is the last company we ever build and ever are associated with. And for me, that just hit me, and that was everything right there.
Yeah, so true. I mean, it takes a lot of time and a lot of energy, a lot of passion, a lot of credibility to
A lot of
build
years.
to build an organization like this. Yeah, and you don't want to, you're not want to be one of those people that's bouncing from this company to that company, and this year you're really excited about this company, but next year, oh no, now I've really found the next greatest thing, right? But so this company is very different, and is the goal of this company is to be a legacy company, which is why they made the shifts that they made that were announced today with, being financially responsible.
Love it. Best decisions. Yes.
Yeah. So it's nice to know that this is your last company, and you build it, and it can pay you, and it can pay your children if they decide. Do you have any kids? Do you have a
Thanks for asking. Yes, we kind of have, like a lot of people in today's world, we have a combined. I have some older kids from a previous marriage, a wonderful 41-year-old son, 40-year-old daughter. They've blessed me with 4 grandkids. And then Denise, they call me dad, and I'm proud to say that. She had 3 kids that are our kids, 27, if I get it right, 27, 24, and 19. So it's been a real blessing. Thank you for asking.
Well, they say that if if ASEA is not around for your kids and your grandkids, then they're not doing something right. So
Right.
that's a long-term perspective, and that really is important to people. Giving it, whether their kids decide to do this full-time or part-time, or have it just as an additional stream of income. It's nice to a lot, like our kids grew up around this. We've been with ASEA for over 12 years now. So our kids know ASEA inside and out. They don't look at us funny when we mention the name ASEA. They're very familiar with ASEA.
That's wonderful. It's a legacy, no doubt.
Yeah, absolutely. So Denise was supportive when you said, guess what, honey, I'm going to go into the field. And so let's just go back a little bit. You watched the convention virtually, heard some things that really piqued your interest. And then at that point, did you go to a fly-in and meet the founders of the company? Is that the order that it went in, or how did it go?
Very close. Dan and I were corresponding, and I hope Jorg is okay with this. I'll just go ahead and say it. I actually did an interview with Jorg right after the convention. And like I said, to be on the executive side, the timing story has to be so perfect. You might be the right time for them, but it's not the right time, in reverse. And they had just hired somebody for a position that I've had, for 20 plus years. But here's the funny thing, Cindy, I already knew and I didn't even voice this to Denise. I already knew that Dan knew that I knew that if Jorg said no, that I was going to choose to be a builder in the field and share ASEA with as many people as possible. So here's what happened. Because of Dan Doyle and Suzanne, they were living in Mexico at the time, had problems as an Aussie getting back into the US for Vegas. He invited me to go. I only asked if he was going to be there. I didn't want to go because people will see you and they know what's going on and it's a past. And so I wanted to stay low key if possible. I watched it virtually. And I kid you not, as soon as Tyler was done, as soon as Chuck was done, I literally turned, because she sits 6 inches away from me. And I said, honey, I want to be a distributor for this company. And anybody that knows Denise, she's supportive, the smartest, most brilliant person I know. She's a magnet. People just love her. She was built to be the perfect partner for this industry. And she, I kid you not, she knows ASEA forward, backwards, back office, comp plan. She truly is a godsend, and she's been supportive to the umpteenth degree. No, I'm not exaggerating.
Yeah, well, you're very lucky to have that. The couples that are working as a couple can be just absolutely unstoppable. So it's great that you guys are working this as a team.
Love it. Thanks for asking that.
Yeah. Well, we're coming down to the bottom of the half hour, and I know that there's so many questions that I could ask you. I know that there's a lot of people on this call that are, that would love to have the success that you've had. They have had their own success. And like you said, do not compare yourself to other people. Comparison is a thief of joy. But if you were to give, I know that you're a big fan of the fly-ins, that you've leveraged those heavily to give people a bigger picture, and those are available to people if they want. They can either qualify for corporate to pay their way to come in, and if they haven't, if they don't qualify for that kind of compensation, that doesn't mean that they can't come. We're looking for people with strong circles of influence. And tell us some of the people that you, not by name, but just the kinds of people that you've brought to the fly-in. Who do you select to, and why do they agree to come to these fly-in events?
Well, it's interesting. I'm going to try and be as quick as possible. I'm a college football fanatic, not just a fan, a fanatic. And I follow the whole year because recruiting is just as important as the actual season. That's how you have a championship team. I look at it as the same analogy. So it's interesting, Cindy, there was a fly-in shortly after Denise and I said yes. We were already all in, but we took just a couple of dear friends. One is a medical doctor, and then one is a dear friend of mine that lives outside the country, lives in Portugal, and has an extensive networking background. We've been in business together. So that was the first fly-in. Then we had a second one that the group was a little bit bigger, and all different kinds, networkers, non-networkers, business people, just dear friends, passionate about health. And we just thoroughly enjoyed it. And then the last one, 2 weeks ago, it was one of the best ones, or it was the best one that we've been associated with. It was large. We had a good sized group there. Again, just dear friends. And it was the timing story. One of the associates that came with us, we love her to death, based in Dallas, Texas. She hit gold within the first couple of weeks, and she hasn't even engaged yet. I invited her to the very first fly-in, and the timing wasn't right. And doing other things, she's a sharp business person, and I'm kind of just honing in on her to show you as an example. So the bottom line is I'm sold on them. What I know right now, Cindy, I would tell a person, hitchhike, take a bus, take a car, drive, take a plane, train, whatever it takes. And maybe hitchhiking wouldn't be the proper thing in today's climate, but do whatever it takes to get there, to kick the bricks, so to speak, but to meet Scott, to meet Chuck, to meet Tyler. And I've said this a couple of times, I'll put him up against any owner of any company in the industry, and I know who will stand head and shoulders above. He's just that quality of a person, and I firmly believe it. And it's always been my opinion. We don't always join companies. We don't always join products, but we join a Cindy. We join a Dan Doyle. We, join a Debbie Wetzler, whoever the person is, because that's who we like and trust. And I've seen it happen for the last 30 plus years.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's great to have you on board. It's great to see all your success. It's great to see who you're bringing on, and it's wonderful to hear your story. So thanks for taking some time to share all your wisdom with us tonight.
Cindy, it's been a pleasure. People can contact me, jerryyerke@gmail.com. And I'm only saying that because leverage this story. Feel free to do so if you feel the right person, former franchise owner. There's a couple of podcasts that I've had interviews recently that will tell the story. I'm all about leverage, and it's one giant ASEA team, and we couldn't be more blessed to be a part of it. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Well, rising tide rises all ships, right?
All
So
ships. Yep.
we're in a very cooperative business, and there's plenty of pie for everybody. It's not if we get our slice, somebody else gets less, right? There's plenty of pie for everybody.
100%. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, Jerry. Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Congratulations on all your success, and we'll be watching you. I know you're going to shoot right up the ranks, so really appreciate you.
Thank you. It's an honor.
All right. Good night now. Good night, everybody.